Welcome to the Filmcast review of Superman, new James Gunn movie out in theaters right now. I'm going to read the plot summary from IMDb. Superman must reconcile his alien Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as reporter Clark Kent. As the embodiment of truth, justice, and the human way, he soon finds himself in a world that views these as old-fashioned, end quote. There's only one person in the whole world whose opinion on this movie I want to hear about. No offense to Devindra, but obviously, I think Devindra feels the same way, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And that is Jeff Kanata. We're going to go with him first. Jeff Kanata, what were your thoughts on James Gunn's Superman?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts on James Gunn's Superman are best summed up in the form of a super limerick.
Oh, let's hear it, Jeff.
Much more than just soar through the sky, to me he must personify the will to do good. James Gunn understood, you'll believe that a man can try.
Little switcheroo at the end there, Jeff.
Yeah, I tried. This is the best Superman movie in 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a pretty low bar, sadly.
Yeah.
But I do think this is the best Superman movie since 1980's Superman 2. Does it outpace Richard Donner? No. But I had a blast with this movie. I have a ton of nits to pick. There are lots of nits to pick. And I will enumerate them all for you eventually. But the overall feeling I got from this is relief, joy, and surprise. This is not the movie I was expecting. It is a real take on Superman. And kudos to James Gunn for going for it. Kudos to David Corenswet. This is I have a soft spot in my heart for Brandon Routh, right?
Yeah.
But I think certainly that movie, Superman Returns, lives in the shadow of the original Richard Donner and Christopher Reeve. And how could it not, in a way? And then we get the Snyderverse, and Superman is a take. I will grant you that, but he is sort of this alien automaton, this almost emotionless super being that is beyond human emotion. That is almost this god among men. And I love that James Gunn and David Corenswet recognize that while Superman is from a different planet and is an alien, what is most important to him about him is that he represents what is the ideals that we all strive for. And he is intensely human and has been raised as a human. And so we get these wonderful scenes of him emoting and being really naturalistic and having faults and foibles and being wrong about things. And like, I love that take on Superman, this very relatable guy who makes quips and, isn't this kind of detached alien thing. He isn't this super being in the sense that he is not among us, right? He is super in what he is able to do. And he's super in that he is the best of us. And this is a take that I have desperately wanted and has appeared in animated form and on television in various ways. But to finally get the big screen version of this is such a delight and such a relief to me. Also, man, James Gunn is so good at casting. I think the best directors excel at casting. You go down the list of my favorite directors, and one of the things that they all have in common is they know how to cast their movies really well. And I think, it's hard for me to put anybody above Margot Kidder, but to have this Lois Lane, I think this is one of the best ever Lois Lanes to be on screen. It's wonderful. There is an early scene in this movie with Superman and Lois Lane having an interview, and it is among the best Superman scenes I have ever seen. I wish the movie had more of that. It sort of gets, I think the movie sort of gets hijacked by its own plot to a large extent, and we get all of this intergalactic, black holes and craziness that on a certain sort of spectacle level is fun and well executed, but isn't what makes this movie good. What makes this movie good are the interactions of the characters. I also think this is the best Jimmy Olsen we've ever seen on screen. It's fun. Jimmy Olsen has a function. He has an opinion. He's
apparently so hot. Hottest man in the room, this Jimmy Olsen.
Great. Yeah. It's great that he has a role to play, and he's not just the sidekick who's there to say, yay, look up in the sky. The entire supporting cast is so strong. Also, you guys have obviously heard the term postmodernism, right? Postmodern. I think this movie is postmodern, but it's also post-Marvel in that it is a Superman movie, a DC movie that does not feel the need to explain anything to you. This movie was unfathomable 15 years ago, right? Yeah. The notion that we would be thrust into a fully established superhero world with no explanation of anything, characters like Guy Gardner, who is literally not explained at all, his power set, we just are it assumed that the audience understands what the Green Lantern ring can do, and there's no explanation of our world, and yet that's fine, because we do all know that stuff. We don't have to be stepped through all of the relationships. We get a very far down the line Clark and Lois relationship. We get a very far down the line DC universe that's already clicking on all cylinders. And I think my favorite thing about this movie are the characters and the world that they are in. The actual things that happen are way down the list for me of what makes this movie good. And I think, honestly, I have a lot of qualms with the plot, the execution of the plot, some of the details of all that stuff, and we'll get into all that in spoilers. But what makes this movie fun and great, and a great Superman movie, is that it gets Superman. It has a take on Superman. The performances are fantastic, and the world around Superman is so well realized and so, I think, clear and has opinions, has personality, is not just regurgitating the same thing over and over, and isn't this sort of dark, brooding thing. It has color, it has life, it has fun. There's lots of humor in this movie. A James Gunn movie tends to have that, and this movie is very James Gunn, but do I wish it did other things? Yes, I will get into those. I mean, one of the things I wish it did was use the classic John Williams score better, right? It does the James Gunn thing where it like mostly uses contemporary needle drops, and that's kind of his thing. And he does it again. There's a lot of things like that.
There's some really interesting stuff around the music where they've created a score. I think John Murphy's one of the composers on this, and they've created a score that evokes the John Williams score and occasionally hints at the motifs, but is not fully. It doesn't actually use the full theme from John Williams. Yeah.
Every time that score comes in, it sort of feels out of place in this movie, and that's weird, right? It is a very different kind of Superman movie. And I think I think characters like Mr. Terrific completely steal the movie for me. Like the supporting cast, there's a better Mr. Terrific action sequence than there is any Superman action sequence in this movie. So there's a lot of like really odd things that are, and like, who the audience is just supposed to accept there's a guy named Mr. Terrific,
right?
And we don't
And
have
he
any
dresses like
explanation
that.
of any of
Yeah.
this, of how he came to be or what he's doing here or what's going on. We're just like thrown in, and the assumption is, hey, you've seen so many superhero movies by now. None of that matters.
Right.
None of that matters. And it kind of doesn't, because what is so great, like, anyway, I want to let you guys weigh in, but I think ultimately I love this movie, even with many, many things that I have criticisms for. Many things, like more things I think I'm critical of in this movie than I usually am in a movie that I say I love. But I love this character so much. I love the feeling of this world so much. And I love how interesting and different and sort of big swing it is, because it's not playing it safe at all. It really is going for something and trying to establish a completely new universe of a new world that I think is fascinating. And I'm down for what James Gunn is doing.
So glad to hear, Jeff Canada. Devindra Hardawar, let's hear from you. What did you think of James Gunn's Superman?
Yeah, this movie is bonkers and corny, and that's why I love it. You know, like everything you've been saying, Jeff, like this is kind of the ideal of Superman, which I feel like in Zack Snyder's mind is something that just never quite computed, because for him, Superman, I hated the way they handled Jonathan Kent in that. The sort of like core message he got was to hide from humanity and fear the retribution of humanity, and the sense of goodness was just never there. This is ultimately a movie about fighting for goodness, and fighting for goodness when the practical political realities of what you're living in is actually even more complex than that. But the inciting incident here is Superman does something militarily, which he thinks is good because it's saving lives. And there are a lot of geopolitical ramifications around that. And I think we buy that reasoning, even though he is going extra political. He's not working with governments and whatnot. Like that's it. This is a Superman who will stop in the middle of a major action sequence to save a squirrel. This is who this guy is. And what's also fascinating is that the Lex Luthor in this movie, I just want to say the opening to this movie is so baller, because this is James Gunn being like, guys, you have been here. You know Superman, right? We are steeped in Superman mythology. Guy lands from Krypton explodes. Guy lands from Krypton. The opening text is so baller. Superman loses his first fight. That's the movie. And that's where we start. I don't know if you've seen the teasers and the trailers, Jeff, but it started with Superman getting blown into the Arctic, bloody and bleeding. And that is the first image we got of David Cornsweet moving. And to me, I was thinking, like, what the hell are we doing
yeah,
here?
that's going to be like 2/3 of the way through the movie that
Yes.
scene happens, right? And then there was a 5-minute clip released of him going into the Fortress of Solitude and getting healed by all the robots. I'm like, wow. I was thinking to myself, wow, I can't believe they released this as one of their first pieces of marketing for this movie, because this has got to be like halfway through the movie. And then, of course, the movie opens with it. I'm like, holy shit, this is a huge swing that they're starting right in the middle of the story. So
I love that this movie is taking swings. I love James Gunn as a storyteller. And I think that's ultimately it. He understands how to get humor in there, but also build characters. This is a guy who made us care for, a talking raccoon and a tree that could say one word. This is who, like, James Gunn as a creative is just somebody I've always believed in. And I think he totally gets Superman right. There are issues here. Like, I feel like this movie's overstuffed. It's trying to do a whole bunch of things. And I wish there have been so many movies that have been like close to 3 hours long this year. And this is one where I feel like I wish we could just like luxuriate in this world a little bit, because there's just so much going on here and it's so cool. But at the same time, I like the speed of this. I like how this movie just keeps moving and still finds times to breathe. We kind of see one of the first poster image that they released of just Superman kind of dejected with something going on in the background. That's another one of those images we saw, like, what is he showing us here? And that ends up being kind of a funny scene, but also him like kind of also taking a break too. It's just kind of funny how they kind of set up this movie and have just like, I don't know how he actually accomplished it in the film. It's a little different. James Gunn is just like really good at writing characters. Like you're saying, Jeff, like everybody feels distinct. And it's taking swings too of like giving Nathan Fillion one of the worst haircuts I've ever seen in the movie. Right. And it's Nathan Fillion. So he's going to like ham it up. And this is a movie that starts with Alan Tudyk's voice. You get Nathan Fillion in a big role. Like this is it's made for me basically. But I love that James Gunn keeps bringing in his the people he's worked with before. There's a lot of fun cameos here that I don't think people expected, and it all just really works. One thing I didn't have a chance to write about, and we'll talk more about in spoilers, but I love the portrayal of Lex Luthor in this movie, because he is essentially, Superman is good, Lex Luthor hates that. And that also describes so much of like what is going on right now in the world of technology and also in the world of politics. Like people who just do not believe people can be good. They do, the idea of virtue is anathema to many people. This Lex Luthor is literally Elon Musk. And it's kind of funny to see, like even more so than the Snyderverse Lex Luthor, which was casting the guy from the Social Network. They're actually doing something with that here. A lot of fun stuff we'll talk about in spoilers. But yeah, I love this movie. I knew James Gunn could do it. And I think the story going around now is that they're not greenlighting new DC movies until he likes the script. And to me, that seems like that is the formula. Don't base your entire, movie universe on release dates and rushing to hit those release dates,
Right.
which I think was ultimately the thing that kind of killed Marvel, because they couldn't stop doing that. But take a step back.
Definitely killed DC. We should say that.
And killed DC as well. But take a step back and like, hey, are these things good? Are you telling a story that's worth telling? And
Right.
are you doing something new and interesting? I think this movie is doing all of those things.
It's not a structure. Yeah, I think the structure being, hey, this one sets up that one, then sets up that one. It's like, well, how about we just write good movies? That seems much smarter.
Yeah. I had a great time with this movie, guys. I was shocked, honestly, at how much I enjoyed it. Because
you seemed like you were prepared to be afraid of this movie, Dave.
Well, I've been very disappointed by the marketing, and even until this moment, as we're recording this on the Friday that the movie comes out, and also, by the way, if you are a patron at patreon.com/filmpodcast, you're listening to this review early. The marketing has not really revealed the main plot points of the movie. It's a weird plot that the movie has. I would say it's not a conventional superhero plot.
It's a very comic booky movie,
right? Exactly, yes. and the trailers have basically not really given any of that away. And I think that's really tough to sell a movie like that without explaining what the movie's about in general.
Unless you have a character that's literally one of the top three
one of the most iconic characters of all time
on the planet,
right? And it worked, and it seems to have worked. Like as we're recording this, the numbers seem to be very strong for the movie, and so their gambit worked. And I was wrong because I predicted that the movie wouldn't do as well. We'll see. But it now appears as though I have gotten everything wrong about summer box offices this year, and I accept my fate. But overall, I had a great time with this movie. I'll just point out, I agree with basically everything you guys have said. I'll say a couple of things in addition that you guys might not have mentioned. One is that this is a movie that, the movie it reminded me of? Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
Sure. Yeah,
and
I see that.
Which is a movie I really enjoyed. And what I mean by that is every 10 minutes, some wild new sci-fi concept is being introduced. Oh,
yeah.
Here are the robots that like heal Superman. Here's like this character that can manipulate this stuff. Here is a dimensional blah blah. I'm not even gonna say what it is because I don't want to spoil it. But every 10 minutes, there's a new like concept to wrap your head around, and that can be very fun as a viewer because you're just like trying to keep up with what's going on. And I really enjoyed the movie on that level. I agree with you guys. The cast is amazing, and I echo Devindra's sentiments that this is probably one of the best Lex Luthors I've ever seen. Just a really convincing image of Lex Luthor. One of my favorite things about this character of Lex Luthor that you see in the trailers is he has this whole crew of acolytes, right? Like there's all these people working for Lex Luthor, and
including one with Jeff's worst nightmare. Nanobots.
Oh my god.
Nanobot supervillain.
Well, one of the things about Elon Musk that's really and to be fair, I think history will not remember Elon Musk well. That's my assertion.
Yeah.
And one of the things I have always been baffled at is why this guy has so many people defending him. Like any mild criticism, people will, there's that meme of Apu like jumping in the way, and like in mild criticism, like the nerds are defending Elon Musk. And then I was watching Lex Luthor's acolytes in this movie, and one of them has braces.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they're like really, really young, is what I'm trying to say. Not like there's nothing wrong with braces, but
very much evokes the Doge kids.
it's so Doge coded, which is amazing because this movie was made before the Doge thing even happened. So it's like, oh wow, and so I really feel like it kind of nails. Honestly, this like element of online culture where some of the worst people imaginable will still have people like defending them and like advancing their ways, and it's a pretty like interesting, cool depiction of that, I have to say. So stylistically, this movie is really interesting. There is a scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 that is all done in one long shot in a hallway.
Incredible.
It's like this hallway fight scene, and a lot of this movie, Superman, is shot in that way, where it's extreme wide angle. You're really close up to the actors.
Yeah.
And
almost
the camera,
fisheye lens.
Right. Almost fisheye lens. You're like moving around in one shot. And sometimes even the dialogue scenes are shot like that. And I like it because it's a fresh new thing. You know, maybe like the 10th movie I've seen this, I'll get bored of it, but it is different than a lot of how superhero films are shot. It has this intensity and vividness that a lot of superhero films don't have today, and so I like that about it as well. So those are, I agree with everything that you guys said. I liked all those things. I'm adding a few other things I liked, and I will also say that the movie is too short. There is too much. There's too much stuff the movie's trying to do, and I don't think it is ultimately successful. I think politically, it's not great, just in terms of how it's like trying to articulate its viewpoints. But at the end of the day, this movie asks the question: what if a Superman movie made you feel good? You know, like, which is not something we've had in more than 15 years, right? Like the Zack Snyder Superman movies, they are a lot of things. They have amazing iconography. Henry Cavill's an amazing physical specimen, but I did not feel good coming out of those. You know, like you did not feel great.
His worldview, his
humanity and Superman, and you know, like
I would argue Superman Returns didn't make me feel great because now Superman's like a deadbeat dad. I don't know. That's hard. That's hard for me to reconcile.
It was just so reverential to the original. Like that movie couldn't get over how good the Donner movie was. And this was just like, yes, we like that. That's good. Let's do something new here.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool that we're finally at that point.
So this is a Superman movie that makes you feel good. And also, it is trying to kind of like, it feels like James Gunn thought this might be his only bite of the apple. He's like, guys, there's so much cool Superman stuff you've never even seen before. And like, I just want to make sure you get to see it. And if we never make another movie, at least you got to see like all this cool, all these characters interacting together as they should have been in the comics and so on and so forth.
And I just want to say, I love it when artists are in this mode, when you are desperate to prove yourself and to prove that the impossible can be done, because that is when things are at their best. That's George Lucas in early Star Wars. That's everything going on with Marvel when they didn't know if the first phase or whatever would even work. That is when you feel the real creative energy going, and hopefully James Gunn and crew can kind of keep that up.
Star Wars is a really good comparison in a variety of ways. I think James Gunn wanted you to feel like Star Wars Episode 4, you're in the middle of the story's already been going on for a long time, and you're coming in the middle of it. Also, the opening crawl was, even though aesthetically it looks very different, but it was inspired by Star Wars opening crawls, apparently. So it's like, we're going to explain to you like why these are all important. Jeff, go ahead.
I also love that James Gunn is still James Gunn, right? He didn't self censor or sort of shave off his rough edges to do Superman, because it's a big difference going from Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a bunch of real offbeat, quirky, weird characters that the audience had no idea what they were when the first movie came out, and also Suicide Squad, which is a bunch of quirky, weird, disposable characters that nobody really cares about.
They're losers.
He's great. You can have all kinds of fun with, and you can do whatever you want to. And now you're with, you know, the keys to the kingdom. Now you're with the prize, the prize show dog, and he's still James Gunn, right? He's still irreverent. He's still goofy. He's still weird. He still throws stuff at the screen that is, I think, risky and different and goofy and bizarre. And all of it doesn't work, but a lot of it does. And so much of it is fun. And just seeing this universe. I mean, one of the things that I immediately thought after the movie ended was like, where does a Batman fit in this world?
Right.
Like there's no like grimy, gritty, dark Batman in this universe, right?
Yeah.
There's a really wonderful shot where you see the a highway that says Gotham City a few miles off, right? So it's fun to think about this world expanding beyond Metropolis and being, the grander DC universe, and there's lots of other DC characters that are here. But like, one of the things I kind of love about this is that the Batman that I think fits here certainly is not the Matt Reeves one we're seeing.
Yeah.
But it could be a really fun Batman. Like this could be a fun, a Batman we've never really seen on screen before. A very comic booky Batman could be very fun.
Maybe like one we got in The Flash. Remember that one? That was kind of a more fun version of the Batman, right? So anyway.
Kind of a fun. I'm imagining something between Tim Burton and Adam West, honestly. Like
the very
there
Adam
is
Westy.
Something you can do. Yeah.
Not all the way Adam Westy, but you could get close and it could be
this
very
movie,
fun.
There's a lot of this movie that is camp, and James Gunn loves to like be in that space where you can be a little weird and a little gross. So yeah. It'll be fun.
The other thing I want to mention.
I think we should move to spoilers. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Just one more quick thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I absolutely love this Ma and Pa Kent.
Yes.
And again, huge risk. This is not a conventional, safe. This is not fucking Kevin Costner. You know what I mean? These are the people that would have found the little boy in Kansas, right? And I love that. I love that James Gunn went, fuck you. I'm not stunt casting these guys. I'm casting people that are going to sell Kansas farmers. And I love it. I love the salt of the earth Ma and Pa Kent that we get here. It's just it was completely unexpected for me. And I just love like the way we first see Ma Kent, like trying to use a cell phone and being like, Clark, are you there? Do it say you? It's just like, of course. We've never seen that version of them on screen. It's great.
And it's so campy too, because like it is the idea of a Midwest older couple, basically, who doesn't know technology. I'm sure they're better at it today, but it's like in the 90s, when we were thinking of like stuff coming out of the Coens and stuff coming out of the Simpsons, like that. This is the joke you would make, but they're playing it for real and they make you feel for these characters. So good job, James Gunn.
All right, let's get to spoilers for Superman starting right now. I guess we should start by talking about the huge plot twist or what have you that
the Bradley Cooper hole in the room. Yeah.
Right, that is not in the trailer at all and kind of drives a lot of the action in the movie, which is that
and is really transgressive to the history of Superman.
Yeah, which is that Superman we learn early on in the movie that he is comforted by hearing this message of his parents that they sent along with him when they sent him to Earth off of Krypton, and Bradley Cooper plays Jor-El, and it's like, hey, it's like a very anodyne message of like, be the best of Krypton and be all you can be and kind of thing, and it's very comforting to him. But then at some point in the movie, Lex Luthor hacks into his Fortress of Solitude data terminal somehow. Don't ask. And then
nanobots, man, nanomachines,
and is able to get the rest of the message, which essentially sets him up to be like Omni-Man and the Viltrumites and Invincible. He's like, hey, we want you to take over Earth and take as many women as possible to be in your harem, and we're preparing you to, like
way too much harem stuff in this movie.
Way too much harem stuff, but also the other half of what Elon Musk is trying to do too. It's kind of funny. You have both sides. You have a lot of Elon Musk in this movie.
That's why I wish I had said that in before we got to spoilers. I think one of my biggest disappointments of this movie is that it's not really appropriate for kids. It's very disappointing to me that we have to have harems and prostitutes and people being shot in the head with a pistol and middle fingers being created by Guy Gardner. Like all that stuff it's a bummer that it has to be in Superman. Some of it's very funny and fun, but it's a bummer to me that like I'm not going to take my 8-year-old To see
I would
this
say it
movie.
definitely earns its PG-13 rating for sure.
Yeah,
Which I agree is a little bit of a bummer.
because
but
like my
anyway,
kid doesn't know what a harem is.
Yeah.
You know,
You know, you
nor
lie
do you
to
wish
them
to
for a little
explain
while.
it to him at this
nor
moment.
do I wish to explain it to him.
Yeah.
Not until he
So
inherits his own.
Yeah.
So
My daughter is 6 years old, is the thing, and I have been rattling around my head. She loves this shit. She loves superhero shit. She loves fantasy shit, and she's seeing these trailers. She's like, I need to go see this movie. Will she have a chance to see it in theaters again? You know, like I'm like, this movie is actually pretty good. Like I'm thinking when I was a kid, what were the movies that would like melt my brain and like just like kind of reshape my personality a little bit? I do think this movie has enough of that. It's just the other stuff. Like, yeah, it is a little too violent at times. The harem stuff they just talk about, you know. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can
but it's
easily
like-
yeah,
move
the
past
guy
that.
getting shot in the head was very,
guy
very
getting shot in the
upsetting.
head.
The
It's
harem
very
stuff
upsetting.
feels like it's such a big. It's hammered home so many times. It feels like a question waiting to happen from a kid of like, Dad, what is that? What are they talking
so
about?
okay,
Easy
how do we
explanation.
feel
Yeah.
about this big decision? Now they have to like hand wave away. Mr. Terrific says, "No, guys, I'm sure they did not fake
They
this
know
with
it's
AI."
real.
It's like okay,
Yeah.
okay,
They've
you have
confirmed
to,
it's
I
you have to
know
buy
those computer guys.
I know those dudes. You have to kind of buy it, and let's say you buy it,
Yes.
right? I understand. I'm
Yeah.
like the whole time I'm thinking, okay, James Gunn, you want us to buy it, right? What does this mean, right? I guess
Well,
I'm
you have
curious
to
what
buy
you're
that, and in that instant, also buy that literally everybody turns against him,
yeah,
even though he has spent years
Yeah.
saving kittens from trees.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird. It's weird to me that so much of it is built around he wants your women. I
Right,
hate
right.
that about it.
Mhm.
I really annoyed me that he's going to take all your women and birth super kids. That felt weird. But yeah, I think it's a bold move to make Jor-El and Lana the villains, right? I don't think it's a coincidence. You guys can say I'm conspiracy theorist. I don't think it's a coincidence that Bradley Cooper looks like Zack Snyder when he says,
that's maybe a little
"Be
much,
the
but-
evil Superman. Be the
Yeah.
evil Superman."
That would be an
son.
awesome fuck you, like just an awesome underhanded thing to do. But
I
yeah.
mean, he looks exactly like Zack Snyder.
What is Zack
as
Snyder?
But
Jor-El.
it's also about, this movie was originally titled Superman Legacy, and that's what the movie is really about. It's about overcoming your legacy.
Right.
And one could argue that Superman has a legacy to overcome, given what's happened over the course of the last 15 years or so.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I mean,
anyway.
and I think ultimately the movie pays it off in such a beautiful way at the end, where it's like, show me my parents. It's comforting
Yeah,
to me, and it's his
that's
adoptive
lovely.
parents. Like
It's his
that
adoptive parents.
message is beautiful. Like over and above any Superman message, just the sort of notion of like birth parents and adoptive parents and what who raised who and what true
Right.
parenting is about. Like I think that's a beautiful notion,
Totally.
and it lands the plane with him, the speech that Pa Kent gives him,
Yes,
which
yeah.
is beautiful and made me cry in the theater. Of thinking about the things I'm trying to teach to my kids, about it is your actions that define you. It is what you do that defines you. Nothing else defines you. And I think that's a beautiful notion and a beautiful place to land a Superman movie. So I think some of the setup is clunky and ham-fisted and bizarre, like all the the harem-y stuff and all of the ways we get there is very forced, but ultimately it paid off for me in a satisfying way.
That's a wonderful scene. And one thing I want to point out is that this movie in many ways is just as cynical about humanity as the Zack Snyder movies. The difference is Pa Kent is not feeding into that cynicism, and Superman himself is this beacon of hope. Like this is a guy that says, "What the hey?" Not "What the hell?"
Yeah.
What the hey, dog?
Golly,
like,
his first line in the whole movie, I think, is golly, which is so great.
Yeah.
And the fact that we constantly have Lois Lane saying like, you trust everybody, you find the good in everybody, you find the beauty in all people. It's like, this is who Superman should be. That is who he should be, is this irrepressible optimist, like this person who believes that all you have to do is the right thing and everybody else will too. And I adore that.
Uh, instead of blue beaming sky, what if black hole in ground? That's kind of what we got in this episode. Or
I
this,
like the imagery,
movie.
though. I like how the legacy of Interstellar has basically defined how we view
Right.
black holes moving forward, and even how science views it too, because that was literally a part of the scientific discovery. Just wild. I love the imagery. It looks cool.
Yeah, but I kind of agree with you, Jeff, that is some of the least interesting parts. It's like, oh, like the way these relationships are developing and all this stuff is kind of these people all have great chemistry with each other. Speaking of which, Clark Kent and Lois Lane actually kiss, which
well, they've
multiple
been
times.
The fact that she knows who he is before the movie starts.
There is this economy in the script that is really wonderful, right? There's very little exposition. Lois Lane comes home and Clark Kent's there making, and she's like, you have to stop interviewing yourself. People are going to catch on. Like,
no,
you
even better than
like,
that, Dave. Before that, she walks in and he doesn't have his glasses on. And I'm sitting there in the movie theater going, he's standing there as Clark Kent without his glasses on. And it just felt like this. And in fact, we only see him wear glasses in one scene in the entire movie, which is wild to me that that's the case. But
but you know what I'm saying. We're agreeing.
Yes.
Like it's like there's so little. They don't explain it. They're not like, these guys have been dating for 4. It's just all done via naturalistic dialogue. But also,
she does have that one line. She's like, well, this has been, he says, like, we've been dating so and such and such long now. I should be making you dinner. And it's like, well, that was a little clunky. But
that's
mostly
fair. But in general, like no one sits you down and explains what T spheres are, right? It's just like they just show you and you kind of get it. But I just think it's worth noting. In my opinion, these two actors, David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan, have great chemistry. And I think their relationship is great. I think it is very underwritten, in my opinion, just because there's so much other stuff going on in the movie. But there is heat in the relationship, and that is rare in superhero films. There's just, in MCU movies, they're all sexless, right? There's no kissing in any MCU movies. It's like, it's refreshing to see a superhero that experiences the full breadth of human emotion.
Even as
and also
the
Snyderverse too. Like there was not much emotion or room for humor in Snyderverse stuff too. Also want to point out, this is a movie that makes room to cast Zlatko Burek. Come on, Pusher fan, Pusher Hive.
Oh my god, Devindra.
Yes,
Pusher fans are eating well this month, because between F1 registered trademark the movie and Superman, there have been 2 pushers. Jeff, in case you're not familiar, Nicholas Winding Refn made the Pusher trilogy. It's 3 movies, right? Every single movie has a different pusher as the protagonist, and 2 out of the 3 pushers have appeared in major releases in the United States this month. So it's like Pusher fans are eating well, baby, at the U.S. box office. So
Mads Mikkelsen's going to pop up somewhere. Yeah.
Before we get too far away from Lois and Clark,
sure.
I think the first half an hour of this movie is so wonderful. And like I said, pre-spoilers, the scene where he allows her to interview him is it makes the whole movie for me. Like, that scene, I was like, I don't even care what happens the rest of this film. Like, this is one of the best Superman movies I've ever seen because of that dynamic and the constant, like, is this on the record? We have a common knowledge. We have to pretend that, for the purposes of this interview, that we're not dating and that you don't know who I really am and that there's privileged information that I've said before it's so lovely and beautiful. And there's so much humanity in Superman in that scene of him having these emotional reactions to her. Well, you can't say that, like that kind of, I was already in that moment thinking to myself, this is a kind of Superman performance, characterization that we have never seen before. And man, how refreshing is it to just see them trying something and doing something fun with this character. So I like, by that point, I was totally on board with this movie, in love with this movie. And I think, all the stuff with with the dynamic at the Daily Planet. And I love that it's still, in this universe, people still read newspapers. Yes, let that be. It's a science fiction universe. Let that be a thing. Awesome. I do think there's way too much crypto in this movie. The dog, he is.
Yeah.
I think James Gunn overindulged in the dog. I think the dog is fun in short bursts, but there's way too much dog for my taste.
I agree 100%, but I like that the dog is like a rescue dog. Basically, it's not very well behaved, and they acknowledge that, and it
dog is
doesn't
great.
do exactly. Yeah.
Dog saves the day too many times. Dog is there too like it's too much dog for me.
Yeah.
But I like the opening where like the dog. It's like we're in such a different place with Superman. That first moment where the dog drags him to safety and like all of that stuff is wild. And the fact that the dog, all of it, so much of this movie subverts at least my expectation, and I would guess a lot of people's expectation, in that you think of Krypto as the perfect dog, you think of Superman as the perfect man. The fact that they all have faults. If this is a misbehaving dog, there's that wonderful comedic line where he says he's not even really that great of a dog.
Yeah,
but he's gonna go save him because he's fucking Superman, and that's what he does. He saves the dog. Like it's just all pitch perfect and great. Even though I have these, there's so much in the movie that we don't see. We never ever see him transform from Clark Kent to Superman. There's never a shirt pulling open moment. Never, not once. I honestly think the suit sucks. I don't like the suit. There's a lot of things we do not see in this movie. I had a list of them in my head.
Well, while we're saying qualms, I'm going to say I think the whole Daily Planet cast was wasted. Like it really feels like there were entire subplots that were cut out of this movie. Like, what was the point of casting Wendell Pierce if he's going to have 3 lines in the movie? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I have to imagine there was some other vision for what all those characters would be doing through this movie. I think
they're just peopling a universe that you will then use later.
They definitely did a good job of embodying those characters, though. Like by the point where Perry White's like, "Here, you got a spaceship. You're gonna take that spaceship," and he still has his cigar. Like we're gonna take that spaceship over there. So like I think they're at least having fun. The whole Jimmy Olsen thing, I don't even know where that comes from. But the other girls in the office being like, "He's so hot. And then like the subplot with him with Lex Luthor's girlfriend. Makes no sense, but it's hilarious because who's it? Tyler Gazondo, I think really sells it. I think we like him. We've generally liked him when we've seen him and stuff. All the smaller cast members, like everybody really sells this movie in so many great ways. Yeah,
it's so interesting to compare the approach to Jimmy Olsen that Zack Snyder took with the approach that James Gunn took. I don't know if you're aware, but I want to say is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. There is a character that is infiltrating this warlord's camp with Lois Lane, and then in interviews, Zack Snyder revealed, by the way, guys, Easter egg: the guy who got shot in the head was Jimmy Olsen.
At the beginning of the movie.
He's the guy that was killed. Isn't that amazing? And
so cool. I'm so
oh my
wicked,
God.
man.
He actually talked in interviews like, it's all about this like wider universe that you don't even like. I always thought Jimmy was like a spook. That's what he said, literally. And it's like here's a little bonus for you. Jimmy Olsen got shot in the head. So that's Zack Snyder's version of an Easter egg.
Yeah.
And it's a very different approach to Jimmy Olsen here, which is, in my opinion, much more funny and successful.
I kind of like that Superman gets locked up for a big chunk of this movie, and it's up to Lois Lane. It's up to Jimmy Olsen to do some investigative work to like save him, basically too. Like there's a lot of that, which I don't think they would have done.
A lot.
He gets his ass kicked a ton. Yeah.
I like I like that the reveal of like all the selfies have the incriminating evidence by it, because the selfies like are really they capture the Instagram aesthetic really well in my opinion. So I really enjoyed that component of it. But
I think, as I said before, I think Mr. Terrific steals the movie. Like he's so good and so fun and has a lot to do that's very impactful and has, I think, the best action sequence in the entire movie. Where he takes down all those dudes.
Yeah.
It's a sick scene. Again, another long oneer where, it's swirling around us as the viewer and he's doing all these incredible, things with the drones. Awesome.
Awesome.
He's
And
great.
Eddie Gathegi, the actor who's also was great in For All Mankind for a bit, he applies the appropriate amount of mustard to that character and the sort of like he just badass persona. The way he says everything is so cool. But that's this entire movie. Like everybody understands the tone. I think, frickin', if anything, James Gunn is a master of tone. This is a movie that starts with Superman bloodied and bruised and having lost his first fight, and then introduces us to this world and still manages to be a ton of fun. Don't forget, Guardians of the Galaxy started with a young boy watching his mother die.
Yeah.
Like that's where that movie started. And then it becomes this amazing fun sci-fi romp.
Right.
But James Gunn does these swings, and I always appreciate like how in control he is while he does it. Yeah.
You guys mentioned the scene where Lois and Superman are talking, and the thing is being battled through the window behind them. One of my favorite things in any visual medium is the in focus conversation while the out of focus thing is happening behind. I love that. It's hilarious. I did it in one of my own shows that I wrote years and years and years ago. I love it. And that scene is so fun and funny. And the fact that we have Guy Gardner literally just like whacking this thing on the top of the head with a green baseball bat. It's so like Silver Age, Golden Age comic book mentality. But also it establishes that in this universe, this shit happens all the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a giant squid thing, interdimensional squid thing in the sky, and that's just Tuesday, This
is not the first time Metropolis has evacuated the entire populace. Let's put it that way. They have systems in place to get everybody out.
This Godzilla creature, and then people are still going into the office. It's like if you saw Godzilla, like,
what are you gonna do?
Guys, sometimes when it snows, I don't go into the office. Like if there's a Godzilla creature downtown, I am not going into the office.
Yeah,
you're too fragile for Metropolis.
Too fragile.
That's right. Absolutely.
Pacific Northwest.
Don't even think about Gotham.
Couple quick thoughts on the politics of the movie. I think the idea of unilateral intervention is just like I understand what he's trying to say, which is that at the end of the day, it's all about human decency and saving lives, right? Like that is the most important thing, and that is paramount. And Superman is a god, and he considers all of our like geopolitical things like it's all just complete BS compared to like if people are going to lose their lives, you got to stop them from losing their lives. Like that's the most important thing. I get that and support that. And by the way, I also think I really don't want to dedicate very much time to even dignifying these online attacks about how woke Superman is with the response. I think they're all ridiculous and so on. Like, obviously, Superman has always been an immigrant story, and he's always defended the oppressed and so on. But yeah, I think that just like trying to take on this idea of like what unilateral intervention means is a little bit too big of an idea for this movie to really tackle and do in a good way.
I mean, just say the first conversation about it is great.
Yes. Yeah, I agree that it like kind of grapples with some of those big issues, and then like the rest of the movie doesn't really have that complexity, in my opinion.
That's my favorite part of the interview too. Like, it's not just like them having their relationship stuff, but it's Superman being indignant. Like, I did the right thing. Why are you complaining? Why is everybody so mad at me? Because I did this thing and I saved lives. But the problem is he didn't go through the right channels. He didn't consider political realities. Yada yada yada. I don't know. You can draw certain parallels to what's happening in the world right now. If somebody were to stop a certain, ongoing genocide that's happening in this world, and I think a lot of this imagery in the movie kind of even reflects that, would they be a hero or would they be an enemy to Israel or something? So I don't know. And this movie is kind of wrestling with that, even if it doesn't have like a final answer.
I think the underlying sort of message is to acknowledge that the world is more complex than it was when Superman debuted, or at least the way we think about the world is certainly more nuanced than a Superman, punching out Hitler. It allows for, and I think I appreciated that the movie is like, hey, if a Superman exists, Why is there horrible things in the world? Well, it's because it's very complicated. It's real complicated. And it's not easy to just rush in and punch out the bad thing. And I liked that about it. Now, where I agree with you, David, is I think the end of this movie is real mushy. And the thing I like about the end is that it sets up the classic Superman problem of how are you going to be in two places at once? There's two crises, and you have to are you gonna save the people you love? Or are you gonna save the innocents in a faraway land? And it creates that moral dilemma that I think is classic Superman, and then comes up with I think a very fun solution, which is I got buddies. I got friends that'll
I have friends everywhere.
I mean, I had these open questions about like how many metahumans are there? I think these are questions that James Gunn leaves open, but like is it just these 4 people, or are there like hundreds of these things out there? And I guess go ahead.
I think it's pretty clear that this Justice Gang, or whatever they want to call themselves, is a precursor to what will become the Justice League. They're certainly in the classic Justice League building that we see from the cartoon back in the day. And so I think there is an implication that this is the, walk before we can run version of the Justice League, that we will be replaced by, I'm sure, Hal Jordan as the Green Lantern and our classic, Justice League lineup.
I want to say one last thing just about the politics of the movie that I think are really one thing that this really profound idea that the movie has, which is, in my opinion, the experience that Superman has in this movie is the experience of America in many ways, where you realize that he has this moment where he realizes that his legacy is one of death and oppression, and he's part of this killing machine that's like that is what is attempted to being passed on to him, and that the journey that he goes on is one of trying to overcome that legacy. And I don't know the movie pulls that off, really successfully.
It's there though.
But I like that. I like that it is a profound idea to wake up and realize, we are the oppressors. Like, we are the ones that have been doing the killing. And I like that, this movie kind of attempts to tackle that. Again, I don't know that it fully lands that, but I like the core of the idea. So anyway, I don't want to end on a downer, but
well, no, I don't think we. Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead, Devindra. Were you going to say something?
I mean, no, but I kind of like it when somebody even tries to swing, right? Like, not everything's going to connect. Not everything is going to be fully wrapped up or tied up neatly, but the swings are what's important. And this movie is full of great big Green Lantern bat swings, basically. And I appreciate that. There's a clone plot line going on here.
I thought that was dumb.
It was really dumb, but there's a clone plot line going on here. We're like, well, how did he get in because of this? I was almost waiting for a fun James Gunn twist of him convincing his clone to hey, we're not enemies or something. Maybe he'll come back from a black hole. I don't know. But there's all sorts of that stuff. The imagery of the the reality field being basically ripping through Metropolis, I think is really, really cool. But the thing that I was mentioning early on, one guy has a history of vilifying heroes, investing in dangerous technology that could hurt the world and negatively impacting governments around the world. The other guy is Lex Luthor. Elon Musk they have literally made the parallels here, and it's kind of wild to see how much they could lean into it. But what I love is this Lex is just he hates Superman because he's good. That's it. You can't trust him. He's too good, because who would be selfless? Who would be somebody who just helps people? We should exist, and also to make as much money as possible.
Also because he's from not from.
He's an alien.
Actually, that's not my interpretation. Is that it's because he's good? I think that's part of it.
He says that, but
I think it's that he's. I think it's because of all the attention he's getting. right?
That's also part of it.
If nobody knew who Superman was, I
Yeah.
don't think Lex Luthor would give a shit. But what I do appreciate about Lex Luthor is, and another part that maybe we agree on is, it's a very spite-based motivation. It's not like, I think Superman will be bad for oil prices. It's I don't like Superman because he's capturing all the attention, and I want the attention. And I didn't, I'm not. What is it? He says essentially that like, he's not killing Superman so he can get Boravia. He's invading Boravia so he can kill Superman, right? Like, the killing Superman is the ultimate goal. And I did appreciate that.
I didn't
is like, it's
buy a social media platform to not have people look at me.
That's right.
The monkeys
is pretty
spewing
great.
social media hate. Elon Musk has bots supporting hatred on X right now. Like, there's so many parallels.
It's a pretty great metaphor. The monkeys.
The monkeys is a great metaphor. But anyway,
I remember what I was going to say. A couple of things that I thought were absent, notably absent from this movie. America. Or there's no American flag. We interact a little bit with the American government, but it's all through these comic book characters, right? It's flag. It's it's this sort of secret side part. There's no waving of the American flag. There's no mention of truth, justice, or anything like that. There's no look up in the sky. None of that. Interesting to me that a lot of the sort of things you might expect as de rigueur, for Superman, are just left out.
I agree with you, and especially the look up in the sky, because the hashtag for the marketing campaign is look up. So it did feel like a point where the marketing didn't match what I saw in the movie. Of like, there theoretically, look up implies to me this wonder of looking. But Jeff, I think even back in the Superman Returns days, they were already getting rid of the American way. Like, there was
the
this
American
line,
way, but the American flag is all over that movie and the Snyder movie. Like,
fair. Just to be clear, there's this line where Perry White says, "I want to know, does Superman stand for truth, justice, all that stuff?" He doesn't say truth, justice, and the American way. Anyway, go ahead. You were saying.
No, I was just going to say, in Superman Returns, there's that moment where he saves the plane and the American flag's there. But there's no American flag in this movie. Interestingly, I thought,
even though James Gunn says this movie is about the story of America, because it is very much an immigrant story to him, and that is how he's framed every single conversation. So
this is what I'm saying. Is like, I just think there's too many. It's in many ways, in my opinion, anti-America or anti-American imperialism, in my opinion. And so the idea of then wanting it to be about how great America, it's just a lot of ideas in the movie that don't all fully
I think it totally gels, because there's American idealism versus imperialism and like the accurate history of what's happening. And what if somebody was just like, I just want to do good and save people? How would people react, basically? And would the public turn on them even after years and years of service of goods? Turns out they would, after they see a hacked message.
I feel like I bring this up a lot lately, but it evoked that show Common Side Effects again for me, which resonated so profoundly with this character in that show finds the miracle drug and just wants to get it to people. And the show is basically expressing like, that's more complicated than you think. Just having this altruistic, idealistic notion of helping the world. When you get to the nitty gritty of that, when you get to the logistics of it, it gets real complicated.
I don't. The thing is, I agree that is what you said is true. I don't think that the movie really sells that position.
I think that's the conversation that Lois Lane and Clark have at the beginning.
But at the end of the movie, Jeff,
he's like, I just want to save lives, and she's like,
whose approach is vindicated at the end? Like, I don't think you're like, well, Superman really learned his lesson about that. I don't agree with that. Like,
I think the movie sort of veers away from that. It vindicates
Superman's position, in my opinion. So it's like, his position is no, it's not complicated. So like,
but then the movie ends with the dudes in the Pentagon going, it's not our world anymore. It's the metahumans. Yeah. We have to deal with them.
Senior, by
so
the
maybe
way.
That'll be the next movie, is like how it's called. Yeah, maybe we'll see. But my point is, this movie didn't like really fully.
No, I
get
agree.
It,
I don't disagree with that. I just appreciate that it raised the issue at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Those are our thoughts on Superman. I'm sure we're gonna have more thoughts at some point. We'll maybe discuss them in an after arc or something like that. But At the end of the day, huge success, hopefully. By the way, one thing I just want to say before we wrap up is I am surprised at how polarizing the movie has been.
Are you?
There's a lot of
This
people that
dumbass
are like,
country that we live
It's
in.
so
You're
we're
surprised?
so
no,
stupid.
no.
We-
I'm not talking about like that. I'm talking about like actual movie critics and how like a lot of them have been like quite split on it.
Well, I think
So-
I think
I
the
don't know if it's
movie
a lot
is
of them.
weird.
Yes,
It's
That's what I'm
weird.
saying.
So I think that's
it's weird.
Maybe just that alone would account
Yeah.
for a lot of movie critics being like, "What the hell is this garbage?"
It has an
Yeah.
82% Rotten Tomato score. That is not divisive. Like that is most people like it. A lot of like top level critics I know have mixed opinions on it, but also I don't know. This movie lets its freak flag fly.
there's
you
an
know, and you gotta
entire-
be with it.
like 15 minutes where Superman is holding a green baby
Yeah.
above a sea of colorful like
Proton.
what is even happening in
There's
this
like a
Proton
movie?
sea.
pixelated. It looks like he's in the Lego movie. Like what's going on? Anyway,
The whole
All right.
prison sequence is cool too. The guy just being like, I can recreate a sun. Yeah, let's do this. Lovely stuff.
all right. At the end of the day, it is really impressive that James Gunn made a movie, and
The
this
movie.
one,
The ultimate movie.
the ultimate movie. I mean, this one, so much riding on it, and it so far it seems to be living up to expectations in every way. We'll see what happens.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Supergirl showing up at the end as like a drunk frat girl or a sorority girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Crazy.
That's how they
Crazy.
do the lead into the next movie because that movie is happening. Yeah.
yeah.
I could not believe that. I was like, what take? What's the take on Supergirl?
Speaking of post credits, by the way, I just want to say, nice to have some post credit scenes that don't tease the next. It's just like
Is
these are
it?
self-contained.
Well, they did tease the next movie.
They're
with Supergirl, but yeah.
self-contained post-credit scenes that you can just enjoy without it being
It's
like
just a
it's
joke.
Largo.
It's just one little
Yeah.
joke, and it's like I sat here for that. No,
I'd rather
But-
see that than freaking Harry Styles or Hercules showing up in a movie that's never going to happen, Jeff.
That's never going to happen. Or
Are you looking forward to the
off-camera
Hercules
Blade,
Marvel film, Jeff? Is that something you're still psyched about? Anyway,
the off-camera Blade voice saying, "Hey, that sword is very special." The lone shot we get of Superman and Krypto on the moon looking at Earth, that's beautiful. That was like a nice little bit of a treasure.
Not for
the
Jeff.
little shot, the little scene
for-
at the very, very end with him and Mr. Terrific. I was like, okay, this isn't
I didn't stay for
fun enough to justify placing it here.
all right. Those are our thoughts on James Gunn's Superman. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.